Hey, my name is Dr. Sito Narcisse. Welcome to Unlearned Unlimited. Guess what? This week, we got a little bit of switch up. We're going to do Tatiana Echevarria. My co-host, Tatiana, people always ask us questions. What do y'all do? Tell us about yourselves. So that's what I said, hey, Tatiana, let's interview you. You got a great story. You've been in education. You're a Florida State University girl. But more importantly, there's a whole reason why you decided, hey, let's do this. And so let's go. I think ain't nothing beautiful to see sisters doing their thing. Let's go. Drop the beat.
Unlearned Unlimited. Unlearned Unlimited.
Welcome to Unlearned Unlimited. My name is Dr. Sito Narcisse, and I have a special guest. I usually will say, and I'm with my co-host, but today I have my special guest,
Tatiana Echevarria. I am here today in the hot seat.
So today we figure we do a little something different, right? I mean, everybody's always asking us about us, right? And we're like always hosting people and stuff like that. And so I thought it'd be a little bit different that we just sit in the hot seat ourselves. And so today is your turn.
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I like it. I love it. I don't know.
You should listen. I mean, I know it's always easier for us to be asking people questions and doing that stuff.
Agreed.
But when we are in this space, trying to let up a little bit of our own vulnerability of the craziness of our worlds, it's very interesting. And so I figured, let's go ahead and just do it, get it out the way, right? So all the people can stop, badgering us on the questions and comments.
All the wonderings.
Yeah. So, I got a set of questions. Like we always do with our guests. We don't give people the questions. We kind of see our questions, ask questions.
I literally walked in empty-handed today, and I felt like so off. I don't have my computer. I don't have my notebook. I don't have anything. And I'm like, I'm a little off kilter. I'll be fine, but it does feel different. That's for sure.
Well, it's always beautiful to keep the mice blind for the interviews. So
I don't think I've heard that saying in a long time. I think you just aged yourself, but it's okay.
Absolutely. But I won't ask you nothing too crazy. But we always want our honesty. What people never know is with our own Unlearn Unlimited, we had to unlearn a lot of stuff too, right? To make decisions on where we are. So it's gonna be great to hear your story, your perspective. People have no clue about your whole flow, which is going to be interesting. Yeah. Yes, the sister does have a story.
You are the famous one on the podcast.
No. I think it's you, sis. I think it's you. But let's do this. All right, so let's go. We'll get right up into it. So like I told everybody, welcome back. We're going to trade in the old limiting scripts from bold new ones. Today we've staged a friendly coup d'etat, as we call it.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to use fancy words today.
You fancy today.
Well, we got you on here, so I can say what I want to say.
You went out of town. You went to a little South Florida action. You came back brand new.
Listen, I try to make sure we can keep these things going as smooth as possible, man. So, we've taken our brilliant co-host, Tatiana, and put her in the hot seat for y'all today. So, Tati, are you ready to be unlearned and unlimited with your own life story?
Yeah. I think I was as prepped as I can be for this. So let's do it.
All right. So I know it's going to be a little bit of a payback, but it's all good. So tell me a little bit. Let's start off with our journey. We always start off in these shows telling people about their journey, who they are, what they stand for, what they've. Their space in life, because, you didn't just get here randomly. You got here by design, from my perspective, in some way, shape, or form, right? So tell us a little bit.
Baby Jesus, yes.
Tell us a little bit about Tatiana Echevarria.
Yeah. Look at you with your pronunciation. We've been working on it.
I'm working on it. Bad Bunny about to be in the Super Bowl, so I gotta.
We gotta get Bad Bunny, baby. Not sponsored by Bad Bunny, but we love him here. I think. I don't know, like a quick rapid fire little history about me. I'm in my 30s, living my best life. No, I'm just kidding. I will just start from the beginning. But my family, it's always been relatively small. So growing up, it was just my mom, my sister, and I, my oldest sister, and I have a pretty significant age gap. So she was already grown and out and about, but I was born in Puerto Rico, and we transitioned here to Florida. I would say I was about to turn 4. Mm-hmm. So in the early 90s is when we moved here to the States. And, I am the product of an amazing single mother who just toughed it out and grinded it out as much as she could to raise 3 children, 2 of which, you know, obviously my sister and I together, to just be the humans that we are today. She really did thug it out by herself for most of my upbringing. I am a public school kid through and through. I also believe people have the right to make choices, so that's another soapbox for another day, but I'm a public school kid myself. I was a public school educator as well, and then I transitioned into administration and those things. But yeah, I mean, I found my passion for learning and teaching, I think, very early on. I came like up through like a Head Start program, which some states still have like Head Start programs, or they just do kind of traditional pre-K programs. But yeah, and I think like then I kind of just realized like I love to learn. And yes, I was the kid that like put all the, you know, little teddy bears in line and, you know, did school because my sister, sure enough, was not going to engage with me trying to play school. So I had to have the teddy bears make it do what it do. So yeah, I think I fell in love with like teaching and learning at that time, like very early on. And I knew from the time I was in 7th grade that I wanted to for sure be a teacher. I had the opportunity to be a peer tutor. At that time, they had those kinds of programs where you could go over and visit other schools. And we had an elementary school that was literally attached to our middle school. So I got to go over and work with this young man who was repeating 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by the fact that he needed as much help as he needed and couldn't read still in his 2nd year in 3rd grade. Wow. And his brother was a classmate of mine at the middle school. So I was just floored by the fact that, like, this is a thing. Like, this is his 2nd go-round in 3rd grade, and he still was having a hard time reading. And at this time, I'm maybe, like, 12 or 13, and I'm trying to piece together why this is a thing. So that was my experience, and, you know, I worked with that kiddo throughout the year. And at the end of the year, he wrote me a letter thanking me for working with him that year. And I'm a Scorpio, but I'm not the hardcore Scorpio, okay? I am the uber emotional Scorpio, okay? As you would know, because you see me cry. How
Listen,
much? But
for
yeah,
those out there evaluating.
But yeah, so that's kind of my trajectory in like how I really knew that from that day. I received like that letter from him, and it was just kind of thanking me for working with him. And I said, I think like I could really, really see myself doing this, and I wanted to make a difference in the lives of kiddos. So yeah, I decided that day for sure that's what I wanted to do. I'm pretty sure I had several teachers that were like, are you sure you want to do this? Right. But yeah, at that time, obviously teaching was a profession that was very well respected, and, you know, never was about the pay. It was truly about the impact I wanted to have and engage in. But so yeah, that's a little bit about me, and how I kind of got to where I am now. Not exactly in education, but I always say like I'm a lifelong educator. I believe in the power of giving kids access to resources to educate them to make a difference in their own lives. So, yeah.
It's always crazy when we talk to a lot. I mean, we talk to a lot of guests, right? And always hearing the same story that gets them down that path. Yeah. Some kid couldn't read, somebody couldn't do this. And we identify with them and help them. And then that put us in the path of education, right? So I always find that interesting about how repetitive that story is and a lot of different modifications. So
and I think having a champion too, right? Like that's part of like my rationale why I also knew like I just wanted to do work that was adjacent to kids in some capacity, both like that experience in middle school, but also I grew up a Boys and Girls Club kid. Like I went to a Boys and Girls Club from the age of 7 to 18. Shout out to the Marty Huizinga unit in Broward County. Like I forever and always will be indebted to the mentorship and the champions that I got through that organization. And they really did push me to do more and care more and be further engaged and want to do right by people and, show up, mentorship, all the things. So you're right. Like, we think about what are the things that kind of pushed us to where we are today. I think it was like a culmination of like that experience itself. And then, really growing up a club kid and seeing the difference and individual and then thankfully I had multiple, but that can make in the lives of, several people or even just one individual.
Usually in these type of interviews, I would have had your sister here with me, but we're going to keep her safe from that. She couldn't make it, but it was all good. I think the question, I think her biggest question she wanted to ask you was who broke mom's vase. Her mom's favorite vase, but I said
I will say, my sister, God bless her soul, she took a lot for the team. That's for sure. The 6-year age difference did require her to take some blame for things that probably may not have been her fault. Who's to say who broke the vase? I don't know. Yeah.
well, let's go into it, right? I mean, we interview a lot of folks, so you already know how the pattern of these questions are going to go, right? So let's start off with what I call it the foundational lie, right?
Sure.
Right. So the core of our show is always around unlearning, right? We call it the foundational lie because the reality is you go through life experiences, schooling, and you learn something that you find out later. You're like, wait a minute, this thing actually did not help me in the future. So what's the earliest and most powerful limiting belief you were told about yourself, your capabilities, or your future that you spent your whole life trying to rewrite?
Oh, wow. Well, I think I'm definitely in a season that I'm trying to rewrite it right now. Coming from a woman who, is and was, a single parent. My mom forever stressed the importance of education. So that in itself has not changed. However, she was very meticulous, rightfully so, because she saw the potential my sister and I had. So she always pushed us to like, no, you're not just a C student. No, you're not just a B student. Like you're an A student and you have to be an A student. And I did very well academically in school. I really did. And I was very involved in programs and clubs and all the things. But I think in always striving for that A and like fixating on like anything less than that was not sufficient. Sometimes it put me in a box where like I was afraid to not be perfect. Like, if I didn't show up a particular way, then I didn't want to show up or I was fearful of showing up. So I have this belief system that like perfectionism is the only way that I could show up. And I'm still unlearning that.
Yeah.
Shout out to my therapist. But so I think in my adulthood, I'm still learning that I always want to show up as my best, right? And I want to do my best. But my best is not perfection. My best is...
I mean, what is perfection really, right? Like, I think like everybody keeps talking about that, but I'm like, there's nothing perfect. I mean, everything that's been created by anybody doing anything is not perfect. They started off...
Right, it was a disaster probably,
right.
and they had to reinvent the wheel. Or even when they think it gets to a quality state, they're still trying to think like, how can I innovate and things of that nature. But yeah, I think that is one of the things that I've had to unlearn.
Yeah.
And I'm still, like I transparently share, I'm still working on understanding that like my best is what I should strive for.
Yeah.
And my best does not need to equate to perfection and being okay with accepting that and taking the risk. Even transparently when you and I have had the conversation about doing the podcast, I was like, are you nuts? Like, and not even like the idea of the
really
podcast,
kind words
right?
That you used, right?
Yeah, those were not the words that I used. Keeping it PG here for those people. But when you brought this idea to me, my thought was like, who am I to do something like this?
Yeah.
Who am I to engage with folks that have no idea who I am? I'm plain Jane. Like I am just...
You are more than plain Jane. You are Tatiana,
right,
man.
And I mean, I am...
co-host of Unlearned Unlimited. What are you talking about?
that to say, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
in that moment, I was like, why would anybody want to sit down with me who knows who I am type of thing?
Yeah.
And being okay with like, okay, I'm just going to show up and take risk. And it's been hard for me to like adjust to being okay with being uncomfortable and being like, no, like I don't have to show up like in this like perfectly put together package.
Yeah.
I am who I am authentically, and some days are great and some days are not. But showing up my best is what I can strive for. So,
well, it's crazy you say that, because when I think about all the guests we talked to that said the same thing, like they're successful in their own space, they do their own thing, but they, in some way, shape, or form, they've said the same thing you said in their own way, right? And talk about their journey to their success on that. I want to ask something super controversial, so don't get mad when I'm about to ask. So let me go ahead and preface that. But I bring this up because our podcast is always around education and culture, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we get to be the people to ask other people that, but people are always trying to figure out what does that mean for us, right? So I'm gonna push a little bit, right? So this is gonna be controversial because the reality is, I always think like our culture has played such a part on how people interpret things now, and that perception now has become reality, that it's the rhetoric that's talked, right? So let's talk about like, so you got a single mom, you grew up in a home. I think she did a fabulous job. Y'all educated, doing all that stuff, but she's been through her own journey, right?
Absolutely.
Not to get into the mom's journey, but if you would have had like your dad around, right? And the reason I bring this up is because people are always fighting through between moms and dads, and should they be together, not be together, and they're always trying to explain like, if it wasn't for this, it wasn't for that, right? And you watch in schools now, kids who grew up with parents, without parents, and those type of things. Do you think like some of that would have influenced how you approach certain things in your life? Or was it like, or did you think like that had more to do with the type of community that you built around you, right? Because I would suspect, knowing you a little bit more intimately than most folks, you do have a community around you.
Yeah.
Either you built it, mom built it, somebody built it, right? And so I bring all that up to say, like, as we think about kids' socializations, that type of stuff, for your own personal space, do you think that would have had a different impact on you with that type of engagement?
So I think I want to like separate the question, and like if I'm thinking about it in the educational like context, I don't know if it would or wouldn't have made a difference, right? Because my mom was going to be on my behind no matter what, right? Whether dad was in the picture or not, right?
Yeah.
Like that was one thing. My mom was very keen and no hold bars on like education is a priority. You will do what you are asked to do. We ain't playing about that. And I want to be very clear that I did not necessarily get support from my mother when it was to completing assignments or doing homework or things of that nature, because there was a language barrier. So if I needed help, it was on me to make sure that I was asking my teachers for support, or I was going to tutoring, or whatever those things were. So that was, in that context, I don't know if it would have been, a difference. And again, I was I consider it a privilege now that I did have access to particular resources that kept me off the streets, that kept me in line with volunteerism and engaging in the community and things of that nature through the Boys and Girls Club, that also supported me in my like educational endeavors. Now, from a personal landscape, I mean, I think it could go either way, right? Because I'm old enough now to say that things manifested themselves in the way that they were meant to. I know I'm the human today because of what I have and have not had.
Yeah.
So could there have been, some personal struggles that I probably could have avoided, if I had, that figure in my life? Sure. But is that to say that it would have been entirely better? I can't say, whether that's the case or not.
Yeah, I mean, I bring this up because when you think about our kids now, I mean, this is a very different generation. We got more homes that are separated than ever before. We got more kids growing up with single families. We got more, it's just, I think the times have changed, right? Whether you agree, disagree, whatever, but there's much more separation in spaces and families than ever before. And kids are
or there's all type of stuff in schools trying to help people build. And
Well,
all
you
this
think
stuff.
about like the mentorships that they're trying to implement now with, like Tony Dungy has his program that he does with trying to have dads, or male figures in the lives of, children that don't have that. Do I entirely do I agree with you that the role of, even whether it's a single dad with a mom not being in the home or
vice versa,
or vice versa,
because they
right?
don't talk about that a lot where dads are with kids.
Let's be fair. Like having a 2-parent household, I'm sure is what most individuals would desire, right?
Yeah.
And I do think, that the relationship that a daughter has with her father is sacred.
Yeah.
Just like I think the relationship that a mom may have with her son is sacred, or a mom has with her daughter, all of those things. So do I think the presence is important? Absolutely. Do I think but it's not just obviously like the presence, the emotional availability, all those things, right? I don't know if my trajectory would have been different. I can't say. But I know, like, definitely as like a young girl, I would, had those moments that I was like, man, what could this be like? But I think as a, mid-30s year old person, I'm confident enough to say now, like, I do think things manifested the way that they were just meant to.
So your ambition, as far as I'm concerned, is legendary, right? I mean, you have had to trace your ambition back to, if you had to do that, to one single thing, right?
Oh, wow.
An emotional root. Was it the need for security, recognition, or creating a legacy? I know sometimes you get to your space, you're trying to figure that out, but like, you're ambitious, right? In a lot of different ways. Like when I say ambitious, it's not about like a career, but like you're a go-getter. Like you don't wait for people. I have not seen that, right? Like you don't wait for people to say, hey, I got to go do something. You just say, right? You get through it. So my question is like, what would you say to our audience that is the drive that really pushes you to get to where you need to get? And if you had to trace that ambition back to one single thing, what would you say that thing is?
I was thinking about.
I did my homework. Just
that was wild. Ambition. I think for me has just come from, and I think my sister and I would both agree with this. Her context being a little bit different because she has children, but I think both of our ambitions is definitely rooted in seeing my mom struggle. We were definitely lower middle class growing up. We struggled. We didn't have the means for all the things. We had means for what we had the means for. But I definitely think when you asked, and I think you framed it in terms of like, was it security? I can't remember the other two that you named, but my initial reaction.
Security, a recognition, or creating a legacy.
Creating a legacy. I think I would definitely go, if I put those like in order, it would be security, creating a legacy, then recognition. Security because I knew what my mom arrived to Florida with, which was a few $100s in her pocket and nothing else. Okay. We were living with, family members when we first got here. And then eventually my mom was able to, kind of bootstraps on, get herself on her feet. But again, with a few $100s in her pocket, right, was how we arrived here. So knowing what I saw growing up, knowing that, like, if I wanted a different life for myself, I needed to work my behind off to get myself there. So my ambition was, I don't want to be in a position where if I do bring kids into this world, that they're going to have to be responsible for all the things that encompass me getting older, right? Because that's just where we are in life. And that is no shade to anyone or, that may be experiencing things that are similar to this, but I just knew like I needed to be able to set myself up for success. monetarily, especially, right?
Yeah.
Because let's call a spade. Like money makes the world go around, right? Like that's how we're able to have access to things as well. So I would definitely say security was one of the primary things that really drove me and my ambitions. And then, wanting to have a legacy, and I think that's loaded too, because what legacy means to people is, very different.
Yeah.
For me, like when I thought about my legacy as a human pertaining to my career, I just wanted to have a kid at some point in time say that, like, that lady right there, she was crazy, but man, like, she rocked with me. And she stood by me, and she rooted me on, and she cheered for me, and she was someone who had an impact in my life in one way or another, right? So yeah, to your question, like, I would definitely say security was what started it, in terms of like, I got it don't matter what it is, I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I needed that, like, security for sure.
So let's get to this question, right? Because this is a question that people have asked us a lot. Like, all right, so the people may not know, I persuaded you, of course, to get on the podcast. Let me just use that. Let me go ahead and just put that on Front Street. But when you ultimately said yes, and people don't know, which I'm going to kind of share a little bit of Tatiana. Tatiana doesn't always just come out right away. That's not her style. This is probably why our podcast works, because I'm more like, yo, let's go get it.
And I'm like, okay, but like, can I ask a few questions first? Like, but how are we gonna do this? But like, tell me, like, what role do you need me to play? Okay, so like, can you give me calendar holes?
Which I think makes a lot of sense, right? Because like, I learned a long time ago is like, you don't have to know everything. You got to know what you're good at, what the next person's good at, and you work together and try to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
I think that was
you
kind
were
of our
great at
secret
things
sauce.
that I am not great at.
Yeah, but you're great at things I'm not great at. So it works out.
Yeah.
Well, and the reality too is like, I think the dynamic of when we engage with people, that comes out that way, right? Because you're like, statistically, what's the number of that? And I'm like, yo, so did you like jump them? Like, what you do? Yeah.
I'm like, let's rein it in, Sito. Let's rein it in.
But what was the thing? Like, because like when you think about this, if somebody would have told you, I would just use a year ago, that hey, you would be on a podcast show called Unlearned Unlimited, and you got all these people.
Are you well?
Yeah. And I wonder, like, if we had like a police lineup and people had to pick that, I don't think they would pick you to be your host.
Absolutely not.
Because they're like, Tatiana, that's not her thing.
No, that's not.
Right?
No.
And so like, how do you think about that? Like, what made you believe in the Unlearned Unlimited vision, right? Because you came on board and we're like, yo, and now we're in a different space.
Man, what made me believe in the vision? I think twofold. Like, how passionate you and I are about education. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think what really like sold me on this too was that we weren't just looking at it from like a traditional K-12, public education, like kind of forum or just kind of sticking in that realm. I think the premise of what the podcast is about is like the journey that I'm on right now in life. Mm-hmm. Is in my 30 odd years of life, okay, there are things that I have unlearned and I still have to unlearn. Whether they are at that moment in that season of life, I thought that those things that I was learning, as we both know, were the right thing.
Yeah.
And were top tier.
Yeah.
They currently do not support me in that same way in this season of life.
Yeah.
And I've had to look at them differently. And I've had to unlearn some of those things. And I 100% understand that 5 years from now, there's going to be things from this season that I'm going to have to unlearn, right?
Yeah.
I completely understand that. And I think with you, this is the most interesting part for me, or like what resonates with me the most. Like when you talked about doing this thing, y'all, let's be clear. I thought I was doing this for an episode, okay? I thought I was doing this for an episode. That is how the information was presented to me, okay? Let's be very clear. And, me being me and having to deal with a lot of imposter syndrome that was also part of the reason that I was terrified to do this. Like, I was like, why me? Like, why would you want to do this with me? Are you insane? And like, who would want to hear me? And like, I have a thing about like my voice, and I've always gotten like picked on about it. And like, you know, if you've seen White Men Can't Jump, if you don't even know what that is, you're probably too young to be watching this. But you know, I get the like Rosie Perez things and all that. And I was always sensitive about that. So I was like, are you sure? Like, no, there's no way I'm going to do this thing. But I think that's part of me being like unlimited, right?
Yeah.
Like really thinking about why not? You know, like why not try something that makes you absolutely uncomfortable? Why not try something that's absolutely a risk for you? Why not be okay with the fact that some people may love it, some people may like it, some may not like it at all? Like, that's just the nature of the life, like in the season that I'm in life, I guess.
I mean, you have reinvented yourself on this whole show. I hate to tell you that. I mean, I could watch. I'm like, where we started to where we are now. Like,
y'all do
like
not
a totally
look
planet,
at my
right?
first episode. Do not. And to be fair, and we've talked about this too. Like, I don't watch our episodes. Like, I watch like snippets and pieces of it because sometimes like it does make me cringe to watch it. Hey, Michelle Obama says the same thing about like her podcast as well. So
y'all make sure y'all watch your shit, like subscribe on all social media platforms.
You need to watch us, right? But I sometimes I do get in my like, oh my gosh, I didn't say this and I should have said that, and why did I sound like this? But yeah, it's been a great journey so far. You know, you and I tussle behind the scenes, but everything's fine, guys. We're still here.
World, man. Part of our world, man. So let's get some serious about some other stuff about the journey, right?
Okay.
So when I approached you about this concept, there must have been a lot of hesitation, as you shared, right? What was the single biggest fear or roadblock you had to unlearn about yourself before saying yes to co-hosting Unlearned Unlimited?
What is the biggest thing I had to unlearn about myself? Mm-hmm.
Single biggest fear or roadblock.
Single biggest fear. Well, I think one of those things, I would say two, and I just kind of pinpointed those, was one, like I was like, why me? Like, who would want to listen to anything I have to say?
So it's a question about that,
yeah.
right? So we talk to a lot of guests that always go through this depending on who they are, imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Right? They always like with all the education and success, like because I'm like you're tremendously successful before the podcast in my view, but they all go through this stage, right? Do you think it's like something in our educational system or our culture that has got us to be that place to feel like we belong before we belong, or because what I find interesting is after you get through that hump, all of a sudden it's like, oh snap! I should have been here a long time ago. Like, yo, this is who I am.
Why wasn't I my own champion before?
And like a thing that I ask all the time is because we go through this with almost every guest that's in the same space we're in. That like it takes them a while to figure it out, and then they feel comfortable, right? So like, what do you think about that? And like, what does that feel for you?
Well, I mean, I think I equate it to I think it's normal. Like, just think about when you were learning how to ride a bike. Mm-hmm. Like, you were unsettled before you were settled, right? Because you didn't know what you were doing. Mm-hmm. I think about like babies starting kindergarten. They're like, what is happening here before they get themselves settled? So I don't necessarily think it's that different, but this is this is a major platform. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think sometimes you get I speaking for myself here, I am my own worst critic. Like, and I always will question.
Wait, you're your worst critic?
You know that I am. And I am very much like, what if, but like, why? Are you sure? Like, well, no, like, why? Again, like, why me? And I was very, very, again, that fear was, am I qualified enough to do this? Who's gonna want to listen to me?
We didn't do it. You're right. Now I think about it, we should have did a background check on you.
Yeah, like you probably should have. You probably would have been like, maybe not. Return to sender. But so I think those were like fears that I really did have to overcome. And I'm still, working through. They're not fears as much, more so just like sometimes I get in my head. But yeah, like I was like, man, like, am I qualified enough to do this? Who's gonna want to listen to me? Sometimes I hate the sound of my own voice, and oh my gosh, like, who's gonna make fun of me and who's gonna say, and I just because I'm an adult doesn't mean, I don't have moments of like insecurity. It's just whether or not I choose to stay there, and I choose to not stay there as much as I have before.
When you said, I was just thinking there are approximately probably about 360 million, I could be, we're off on the numbers, but approximately 360 million people that are in the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a mentor saying to me, for every 1,000 people that say yes to you, 1,000 people say no. You are not going to make everybody happy. Some people you will, some people you won't. You just need to have a small percentage of whatever makes you feel comfortable, right? And when I got over to understanding that math, I hate to say the math, but the math, I was like, yo, you know something? Who cares what these people think? Like, why y'all should be in? And I think what's interesting in our process of growing up, if you have navigated like we have, you begin to like figure out like, why did I doubt myself? Why did I think I didn't belong in the room? Why did I whatever, right? I mean, you
remember when we've talked about like Barack and like when he's mentioned like going into rooms and then he's like
these people, they not smarter than us, yo. Like, let me say what Barack didn't want to say. Like he's much more eloquent, but he's like, yo, these jokers, they got here. They can't tell you how they got here. They're not as smart as all you guys.
Right. And remember we've talked about that. So to your point, like it is that, like when you have those moments that you're just like, you know what, and this is learning for me too, is like, I don't always have to be the smartest person in the room, but I have to believe that I'm supposed to be in that room.
That's right. That's right.
So that's, that's a work in progress. It's a work in progress, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. So let me ask this, what gives you the fire to come on the show, right? Because sometimes you be really hyped up. Now, bring it up is because as a dynamic of the different guests and the folks we've had some guests, we've had some serious wild questions too. But like you come in and you're always fired up. Now I'm gonna say some stuff that you may be like, oh, this is what he was thinking about. So when we started the show, my mind was like, okay, I'm gonna come from my perspective. I'm a male. You're gonna come from your perspective. You're a female. I may bring a little bit of my New York pizzazz. You're gonna bring your South Florida, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale flow. You know what I mean? You bring also your Puerto Rican fire. I bring a little half Haitian American fire. So like
full Haitian.
Yeah. So so it's kind of like, I mean, I was thinking like because we had different sets of dynamics, it would help people resonate with it. It was a unique approach. We had just a different way of going about it, right? And I remember that I was watching all these podcasts before we started, because you got to do your homework before you do these things, right?
Market analysis, market research.
And I was like, I watch these podcasts and these people would have their little jazz music. They're interviewing, different people. And in the education sector, some were just interviewing superintendents. Some were just interviewing teachers. Some were just interviewing whatever the group that they were interviewing. And I remember just watching, I was like, yo, we got to be like, I want our stuff to be like real, like totally different. Now, I can also remember having this conversation with you as much when I was trying to persuade you, like Sito, they're gonna think we're crazy in the education world because, in our world we follow these lines, right? This is how things should be, and there's this whole process. But what was crazy that I thought was unique was because we both were in education, that we sat in rooms listening to people that would say one thing in a school setting or in a political setting, and then behind closed doors would say something totally different. Be like, oh yeah, thank you so much. And then close the door and be like, these people are some bull crap. Right? And so I remember I was like, yo, so why are we not talking more about that to help people prepare for their next steps and less about that, right? And so you find that concept happening in every space in education, whether it's you're trying to do something with social emotional learning or something around kids being able to read or mathematics, whatever the concept is. But I think what was crazy was we started to find out that same concept in every industry.
Right. It's so not just in education.
Yeah, because we're interviewing like business people and all these different folks, and they're saying the same thing, right?
Well, and that's why I also was really passionate about your thinking behind the premise of the podcast, because you don't just unlearn the things you learn in school, or we don't just unlearn in the educational landscape, or sector, like in business, if you work in healthcare, or you're just somebody that has lived life.
Right.
Period.
Right.
There is unlearning to be done in your walk of life, which I think is what, ultimately I was like, okay, this is great, because we don't always have, like you said, transparent conversations in front and behind closed doors, right?
That's right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember one comment you made. If you ever go check out our clips, Tatiana gives a comment that says, I can't remember what the guest was, but one of the guests was talking about like board members and stuff like that. He was like, "Can you say it a little louder, please, so people in the back can hear you?" Right? Because we tend to. I mean, America's now becoming a little bit more desensitized.
Desensitized,
right? And so like people are starting to really say what's on their mind in different ways. Hopefully, I wish it was a little more with decor and still respect for each other, but we're just in a different space now. But
we're in the space of just say it. It doesn't matter how it comes out.
I mean, political correctness is just so much out the window these days. But I think like I'm just thinking about when we try to get to people's truths around it, right? You always come in with this whole fire, like, okay, we're gonna make sure we clear about what our data says, and then ask these people what they really think. Like, what's that drive?
I think, well, I mean, it's just what you said, like. Why come on a podcast if you're not going to be authentic?
That's right.
Like, why?
That's right.
Why show up if it's just going to be fluff? Like, that defeats the purpose of you being you, or I guess, or maybe that just means that you're not an authentic person. I don't know, but in my opinion, what's the purpose if we're not going to? And you and I had this conversation as well. Like, if we are going to do this. I said this to you in not the way this is going to come out. And I said, you ain't a superintendent no more. So if you want to do this thing, like you need to be real. Like, and that may mean.
She didn't use those words, but she did say it like that.
But I said that may mean that you also have to be real about what some of your experiences were.
Yeah.
And the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And if we're not doing that, then I'm not signing up for this. Because what's the point of showing up to do something if you're not going to authentically be yourself?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard you. I received it. I was like, all right, let's roll.
Let's roll.
You know what I mean? I don't waste too much time on the,
No,
I'm not asking for acceptance.
You are I
am who I am.
You are impulsive in your decision making
Absolutely.
sometimes. Meanwhile,
1000%.
I'm granular. I'm like, wait, what?
Right. So let's ask this question. I'm asking this question for the audience who thinks that she's perfect. This is for you.
Oh my God, no.
Because I know y'all be like, oh, she's so da-da-da. No, let me ask a different question, okay? What is the most ridiculous unlearned thing you still struggle with daily?
What is the most ridiculous unlearned thing I struggle with daily? In what context? In any context?
Any context, man. Any context you feel. And the reason I gotta say it like that is because, I mean, I don't want you to go too crazy, but, anything you feel comfortable sharing.
What is the most ridiculous unlearned thing?
Yup, you still struggle with daily.
I still struggle with daily.
Like let me give you an example. Like you still think a microwave is for storage, or you leave your keys in the freezer, so.
Oh my goodness
gracious.
gracious.
Who knows what goes on in your house? I can't tell.
I mean, you could tell, but you won't tell.
Give us a human flaw.
Okay, so And maybe this is not ridiculous, but just like really understanding my need in this season of life to just redefine what success looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's like entirely ridiculous per se, but I think it's a level of understanding that success means different things to different people. And I am currently rebuilding what success even means to me and what it looks like for me in this season of life. If you would have asked me how many odd years ago, like I'm in my 30s, I would have been here and here and here and here and ticked off all these boxes. And I think I'm learning now that ticking off the boxes doesn't mean success.
That's correct.
Or lack of ticking off the boxes
100%.
Does not mean that I haven't been successful. So I don't know if that's ridiculous or not. Maybe ridiculous unlearned thing is that like I'm a big habit girly. Like I will eat the same thing for breakfast for months on end, years on end. Maybe I need to unlearn some of that, but that is a part of me being a creature for habit. So, but yeah.
If you ask me to describe you, let me give you an example.
What? Oh my God, I'm
if
afraid.
you walked into Tatiana is, remember she started by saying she was perfect? Like she has this whole perfect way of thinking.
Oh my God.
So think about it. You ever see those people who like put glasses a certain direction and lay them out?
yeah.
She has to make sure that the glasses are in the same direction, all that.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
someone like me would come and like, actually take the glasses and like purposely shift them as different directions to piss her off.
Yes, 100% you do that.
That is, but I think you've passed that stage. Or you've
But
gotten
so
better.
I've gotten better, I should say. I do get onto you when you don't use coasters, though.
This is true. This is a true statement, right? But you know, work in progress, folks. We're not. Listen, at least I'm drinking the drink
You're
from the
getting
glass.
the Kool-Aid.
I'm getting the Kool-Aid.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid and you're getting
Right.
it out of the cup. We're just not putting it on the coaster yet.
You know, I was on TikTok live, and you know, I always give like, you know, we have these key messages talking about the podcast and stuff,
Yeah.
and I was sharing that with someone. I was like, you know, everybody gets caught up on the plan has to be perfect. The plan ain't got to be perfect. You just got to like start doing it,
Yeah.
right? And then you can figure it out as you go, right? But I'm learning like in life, and even with the folks that are the most successful people in terms of what their success is in their field, whatever they're doing, they have that same thing. It's like you just start doing what you want to do, and then you figure it out. And it's okay to be living in that space of not like
It's kind of gray.
yeah,
Yeah.
and not feeling comfortable because the reality is that pathway is somehow the formula to the success, right? There is a formula.
And I think that goes into your last question too. You know, I think there's a lot of unlearning there that I am a planner. And you know this about me. Like I was, you know, I have been living life a little bit these last couple months because of just some curveballs that, you know, have presented themselves. But instead of me, you know, fully going down a rabbit hole of feeling anxious and depressed, I have decided to travel a ton. And you know, like I'm such a planner when it comes to traveling.
And your girl's been traveling. Don't listen. I don't want to give out where you going on because I don't want you to have no stalkers or nothing like that. But like your girl is like not just traveling, like traveling out the country, traveling. I was like, listen, can I get a plane ticket too? It's crazy.
I mean, we can work around that.
Yo.
But yeah, to your point, like that's such a great note that you made because I was so stressed about traveling because I had to have like so many things planned down to a T.
Yeah.
And like at one point I just told myself like, girl, you bought the plane ticket 2 weeks ago. You literally leave in a week and a half. Like just roll with it. Like, and just go and do. So to your point, like, you know, sometimes the plan is to just do.
Yeah.
Not to have an actual plan.
Well, I'm gonna ask you some stuff because you know we got no guests. You could be. Remember, this is Tatiana's unfiltered moment, right? That's what I call it, the unfiltered moment. So
Okay.
You've interviewed dozens of people who found the unlimited path, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you had to boil down the one common, undeniable trait or mental shift of all the truly successful people we've had on the show, the thing that they all unlearn, what is it from your perspective? Because we've interviewed a lot of people.
You know, one thing that stands out, and shout out to Dr. Courtney Wright. She was honestly one of my favorite guests. I'm a little biased because we got a lot of things in common, but you know, one of the things she talked about is that like success is not an overnight thing, you know, but because we live in this day and age that people just post things and, you know, left and right, you know, we got people out here thinking that it really just does happen overnight.
They have no clue about the preparation.
Like what's happening behind the scenes. And I have, you know, a good girlfriend of mine, Angelica as well, who has her own businesses but you know, she started her business, and I'm probably going to get the year wrong, but I want to say like 2017, somewhere around there, probably earlier.
Yeah.
And her business is where it is right now, but that's not where she started.
Yeah.
Right? So that is like something that's really has stood out to me. And again, just the ability to like redefine what success looks like what's important to you and what success means right now may evolve, you know, 5 years, 10 years, maybe a year from now, right?
Yeah.
A few months from now. So that's one thing that I would say really sticks out to me about the success piece, but also there's been a lot of kind of this overarching message about like the meritocracy shift that, you know, the person that has all the awards and has all the things and all that, whatever, they're the person that, get to be the top decision maker or the head of the this or the CEO of that. And it's like, that's like null and void now. You have people that are significantly successful that I am pro going to college. Just want to clarify that. But there are people out here that are doing amazing things, inventing things that we are using today with and without a record of accolades, right?
Yeah.
They're just innovative. They're creative. They find partners.
Yeah.
They have champions. They make connections. They network. They whatever, right? And that is a huge shift for me too, because again, I grew up like, girl, you need to win all them trophies.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you get all the certificates, all those things, right? So the merits get you where you're supposed to be, and that's not true. And I think that's been an overarching thing that we've heard from a lot of people, even people that have talked about, school board members being qualified and not qualified. So there's that.
That was a whole show within itself. Yeah, that was a whole show. Well, let me ask you this.
I love that question. That was great.
Well, what is the most challenging truth you've had to accept about your own life, your own career path, because something a guest said on this show?
Ooh.
See, I went to the deep bag on the questions. I was like,
what is something I've had to accept about my own life?
Yeah, what is the most challenging truth you've had to accept about your own life, your own career path, because of something you heard a guest said on the show?
Oh, wow. Man, I'm gonna have to pull. Now I got to think about
I had to go to
which,
the Oprah Winfrey
which,
question books.
Yeah, which guest? I don't even know which guest.
Or let me say it this way. Let me ask it a different way. Has there been something a guest ever said to you that you're like, yo, I'm gonna apply that to my own life?
Okay.
Because we talk to these people like ranging from like.
Yeah, we've talked to some really, really amazing humans. I must say, like, that has been such a gift on the show. We've talked to some really dope people. Something that's a guest has said that I've been like, man, I have to apply that to my life. Yeah, like, I think the best, I'm just going to sum it up like this, like, bet on yourself. Like, bet on yourself. And good, bad, or ugly, like, betting on yourself is never a bad thing. So, and that's come from guests. That's come from you. That's come from other people, right? You never go wrong when you bet on yourself.
Yeah.
So do it scared.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something I am truly working on applying right now in this season of life for me.
You know, when you hear something that's crazy, one of the things that dawned on me, and I thought, I'm a little bit older head, I think, because of all the stuff I've been through. But
you're a little ancient.
But I think I got more comfortable with this concept of learning through failure. Because what I learned pretty much in all the guests we had, they always had that story, right? And they're like, yeah, I failed on this, but it was like, fail fast, learn quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I think about when you just said what you said, I'm just thinking like that whole thing of being comfortable that principle applies to everything in your life, right? And every day if you wake up the next day, you got another shot at it. No matter how bad you messed up, right?
Right. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah. So I just thought about that when you were saying that.
It's essentially kind of the same concept, right? But just just said differently. So
I know we're running a little out of time. I got the last couple more questions I want to ask you real quick before we finish up. So we have to talk about the future and the unlimited goal. So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm going to the next page here. So we learned about your roots, your drive, your core success traits, right? And now we're going to hear a little bit about the future, right? So if we fast forward 1 year, and Unlearned Unlimited has achieved its ultimate goal, not in terms of downloads, but in terms of impact, what does that success look like for you, and how does it fulfill the deep emotional need we talked about earlier? I need to take a picture because I got you thinking.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
And I can repeat the question
So,
for you if you want.
If the podcast has achieved its ultimate goal, okay, what does that look like for me?
What does that success look like for you, and how does it fulfill that deep emotional need we talked about earlier?
Okay, so I believe for me, and you and I have talked about this repeatedly, is like we are crossing sectors into talking to guests that are literally changing their lives due to their ability to unlearn and betting on themselves and stand on that 10 toes down. Like, you know, I think that would be like what that feels like for me. And then there's like the cheesy part of me that is like, we need to talk to kids. Like, could we like talk to like high school kids that like are on their own like journey of unlearning and seeing what unlimited means to them?
You never know. You never know. Sound like a future show.
You know,
Sound like a future show.
And I think that's just me and the journey that I've done in my work in nonprofit that has really pushed me to challenge my own thinking.
Yeah.
Especially in the educational landscape, that we have adults constantly making decisions for children, and we don't invite them to the table to have discussions about the decisions that are being made that impact them the most. So I thought, I think it'd be kind of neat to talk to some kids and like see what their perspective is about their journeys in school, and like, or even like what they feel like they're going to have to unlearn from their own schooling experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are two things that I think would be kind of neat wins.
Listen, we're going to do it. You speak it to existence.
Yeah.
It can be done. So I got to ask this question because it's your sister. She kind of twisted my arm, saying, make sure I ask her this question. So I was like, all right, let me do it. Then I asked her, I was like, how much are you going to give me for this? But anyway. So of course, she says she's super excited and proud of you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
She's incredibly proud, but she needs to know the following question.
Oh my gosh.
If you could go back and whisper one single sentence of advice to the ambitious, slightly scared, younger version of yourself, what would that sentence be?
My God. Man, that little girl was always scared, that's for sure. And I think what I would just tell her is that you're doing a damn good job. Like that is 100% what I would tell myself, is like, you're doing a damn good job. It may not look exactly like what you thought it was going to look like,
right.
But you're doing a damn good job. And I think that is not just for me, that is for anybody that's watching this and listening, is that you're doing a damn good job. Whether or not it appears that way, whether or not it feels like that today or as of late. But yeah, you're doing a damn good job.
You're doing an outstanding job. Outstanding. And you haven't choked me yet, so that's a good thing.
Yes, we're doing well. We're doing well.
So last thing I was going to share with you is like, one, of course, I appreciate everything you've done and the journey that you've taken on with me. You didn't have to do it, but I am definitely appreciative of that. And I believe it's like a true partnership. So for the audience watching, what's the one promise you make to them about what you and I will achieve together on this show in the next year?
One promise, I don't know if I can do one promise, but I can give you two. One promise for sure is that you and I are going to be ourselves. Like,
always.
I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me with my Scorpio, Puerto Rican, straight Broward County energy, that believes that education truly is the greatest equalizer that exists. We just got to do better with it. So I think you and I will always be authentic in that space, but also in not just the educational space. We will also communicate that with my second promise. I think, is that we're going to bring people on this podcast that do good work.
Yep.
That have amazing stories to tell, experiences in life that resonate with people who listen to us now and may listen to us in the future. So I think those are my two promises, is that we gonna be who we gonna be.
That is correct.
Right?
Always.
And that we're gonna talk to some folks that you may not be on your, radar right now, but these people are out here and you should connect with them in some way.
Absolutely.
They have amazing stories to tell. They have unlearned a lot along the way, and due to their unlearning, they've become unlimited.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it took me a long time to pronounce the last name well, but I finally got it out.
Echevarria.
Tatiana Echevarria. That's our show. Another banger. Please make sure that you share, like, subscribe.
Unlimited, unlimited, unlimited. Unlimited, unlimited, unlimited.